The laughter came sharp and sudden, slicing through the marble silence of the bank like something meant to wound. It wasn't loud, but it was deliberate, the kind of laugh that travels across polished floors and settles into the bones of the person it's meant for. The boy froze near the entrance, one hand gripping the strap of a faded backpack, the other curled tight around a crumpled deposit slip. His shoes, cracked at the seams, soles thinning at the heel, left faint dust prints on the spotless tile. Every eye didn't turn, but it didn't have to. He felt them anyway. Before we go further, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Humanity Stories, if you believe every story hides a lesson, even the ones that begin with laughter. He hadn't planned for the laugh. He had planned for the cold air conditioning that would sting his skin after the heat outside. He had planned for the security guard's suspicious glance. He had even rehearsed, over and over, the single sentence he would say when he reached the counter. But he hadn't prepared for the manager, a tall man in a tailored suit with a gold watch that flashed under the fluorescent lights, to look him up and down and let out that small, dismissive chuckle. The boy's name was Elijah. 13 years old. Skinny in the way poverty shapes children, not from lack of food alone, but from carrying too much too soon. His t-shirt was clean but faded, washed so many times the fabric had grown thin and soft as paper. His jeans were hemmed by hand, the thread didn't match. His shoes had once been black. Now they were the color of tired asphalt. He had walked 3 miles to get there. Outside, the neighborhood carried the familiar rhythm of sirens in the distance, buses groaning at corners, and storefronts with bars on the windows. Inside the bank, everything was polished and controlled. The air smelled faintly of lemon disinfectant and quiet money. The digital board blinked numbers in calm red light. Customers stood in neat lines, holding leather wallets and phones that cost more than Elijah's family paid for rent in a month. He waited. The manager hadn't meant to laugh loudly. It had slipped out when he saw the boy approach the reception desk and say he wanted to check his account balance. There was something about the contrast, worn-out shoes on marble floors, that struck him as absurd. He assumed it was a child's misunderstanding. Maybe Elijah thought the bank was a place to ask for help. Maybe he was confused. But Elijah wasn't confused. He had been saving since he was 9. It began with collecting aluminum cans after school, stuffing them into garbage bags and dragging them home before the older boys could take them. It grew into mowing lawns in the summer heat, sweat soaking through his shirt as the grass clippings clung to his ankles. In winter, he shoveled snow from driveways before sunrise, fingers numb inside gloves with holes at the tips. He fixed bicycles with parts scavenged from the dump. He carried groceries for elderly neighbors who paid him in coins and quiet blessings. At night, while other kids scrolled through cracked phone screens or argued over borrowed sneakers, Elijah sat at the kitchen table with a small metal box. He would open it slowly, counting bills flattened under old textbooks. 10s, 20s, 50s, once in a while. His mother never asked about the box. She worked double shifts at the nursing home and came home too tired to notice the arithmetic of hope happening under her roof. She thought he was saving for shoes. He let her think that. What he never told her was that he listened when the landlord spoke too sharply about late rent. He noticed the way her shoulders stiffened when envelopes arrived in the mail. He saw her stare at the ceiling some nights, not sleeping, just calculating. He hated the sound of calculation in the dark. The first time he walked into the bank, he had been afraid the doors wouldn't open for him. They did. The account was opened with the help of an elderly teller who didn't ask questions, only smiled and showed him where to sign. He had deposited money in small amounts at first. $50, $100, then more. Always cash. Always folded carefully. The manager hadn't paid attention to those deposits. Why would he? They were insignificant among the steady flow of business accounts and mortgage approvals. But now Elijah stood at the counter, deposit slip trembling slightly in his hand, asking to check his balance. The manager stepped closer, still wearing that faint smile, and asked for identification. Elijah slid his state ID across the counter. It had cost him $20 and a long bus ride to get it. He had considered it an investment. The manager typed the account number into the system with casual indifference. Then he stopped. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. The smile faded, replaced by something that didn't belong to him, confusion first, then disbelief. He blinked once, leaned closer to the screen, and refreshed the page as if numbers could rearrange themselves into something more reasonable. They didn't. The laughter was gone now. The air between them felt heavier, like a room before a storm. Because the balance was not a few $100s. Not a few thousand. It was over $300,000. It hadn't happened overnight. Elijah had discovered something at 11 that changed everything. While fixing an old laptop thrown out by a neighbor, he had stumbled into a world of online tutorials. He learned coding from free videos, sitting in the public library until it closed. He built small apps at first, simple tools for local stores to track inventory. He charged little, but he reinvested everything. He studied digital marketing. He launched a basic budgeting app aimed at low-income families, simple, clean, easy to use. He didn't advertise with flashy campaigns. He posted in community forums, explaining it in plain language. The app spread quietly. People liked that it understood them. Within a year, subscriptions grew. Small amounts, $5 a month, then 10. But thousands of users added up. Elijah didn't touch the money. He let it sit. He let it grow. He kept walking to school in worn-out shoes. The manager swallowed. He looked at Elijah again, but this time he didn't see shoes. He saw something else, discipline carved into a 13-year-old face. A kind of stillness that usually belongs to much older men. Elijah didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He only asked if the number was correct.